Welcome to day 5 of Aussizz Conclave 4.0. We hope that you are excited to know all about this session on parent and age parent visas. Now, let me introduce you to our presenters for this session. I would like to introduce Vaishalee. She has been associated with Aussizz Group as a migration agent for more than 7 years now, dealing with a wide range of visa types, including general skilled migration, family visas, employer-sponsored visas, and many more. With a passion for customer centricity, she has been a lifelong learner who is willing to make a difference in people's lives. Then we have Sylphy Dudhiya. She is a seasoned registered migration agent with over 6 years of experience at the Parramatta branch of Aussizz Group. Sylphy is a meticulous and detail-oriented professional with a deep understanding of the intricacies of Australian immigration laws. That's all from my side, folks. I would like to call upon Sylphy Dudhiya to take over this session.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sylphy and I'm a registered migration agent at Aussizz Group. I'm located in Parramatta. In today's session, I will provide you with the information on parent visa. I will cover who is eligible for the parent visa, the requirements of sponsor, balance of family test, and health and character requirements. So here, if you see, there are 6 categories of parent visa, which fall into 2 major categories: contributory and non-contributory. Now, there are 6 subclasses. One by one, I'll explain you. So first visa subclass is subclass 173, which is contributory parent visa temporary. Subclass 143, which is contributory parent visa permanent. Third subclass is 103, which is parent visa permanent. 884, it is a contributory age parent visa temporary. And 864, which is a contributory parent visa permanent. The other subclass is 804, which is age parent permanent visa. So continuing with the matrix, first is contributory and non-contributory. So I have divided into 2 sections. In contributory, there is an aged onshore and non-aged. Now, in aged onshore, you have 2 sections. First is either you can apply for the contributory direct, which is 864, or you can go through 2-stage process, which is contributory age parent visa 884, which is temporary years, or within 2 years, you can apply for contributory age parent visa 864. In non-aged, there are 2 subclasses, again with the same contributory 143, which you can apply direct, or you can go through 2-stage process, contributory parent 173, followed by contributory parent 143 migrant. In non-contributory, there are 2 visa subclasses, aged onshore. In aged parent visa, which is 804, and subclass 103, which is parent visa. Now here there is a brief information on the parent visa again. So the applicants who are applying for subclass 103, 143, and 173, there is no age criteria in this, and there will be no bridging visa granted as well. If you are applying for 804, 864, and 884, the age requirement, the retirement age requirement is necessary in this one, and the bridging visa can be granted while you are applying onshore. The processing time of 103 and 804 is 30 plus years, and these visas are not very expensive. However, for the 143, 173, 864, and 884, which is a contributory parent visa, the processing time is 12 years, and they are pretty expensive compared to the normal age parent visa and parent visa. Now here there is a parent visa queue release dates and the processing time. So as of 31st March, contributory parent visa applications queue date are June 2017. So in this one, this means that if you have applied before or during June 2017, your applications is now being processed. Applications submitted after this date are still in a queue. Same with the parent visa applications. The Q date is November 2011, and for the H parent visa, the Q date is January 2013. Now here requirement that you might be eligible to apply for the parent category visa if you have a child who is an Australian citizen, Australian permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. Your child must be a settled or usual resident of Australia. You should be having a sponsor, and you should meet balance of family test criteria and health and character requirements. The core criteria of the grant of the permanent parent visa is the first one is you should meet balance of family test. Applying for onshore parent visa, be old enough to receive an age pension in Australia. You should meet health and character requirements. Arrange an eligible Australian to lodge a refundable bond. Now, there are also a parent visa that involves 2 stages, with a temporary visa being granted first, and provided a further visa application charge is paid within 2 years, the parent may apply for the permanent visa. Depending on the visa pathway, the processing time and the visa application charges can be significant. Now, who is eligible and ineligible child? So the eligible child is those who are an Australian citizen, Australian permanent resident, who are usually residing in Australia, or a New Zealand citizen, eligible New Zealand citizen, who are usually residing in Australia. The ineligible child are the ones who are a resident of overseas and those who are in Australia on a temporary basis. Now, what is the balance of family test? So this is the most important criteria to be fulfilled. A parent meets the balance of family test if at least half their children are eligible children. So for example, if the parent or the applicant has 4 children, 2 living in Australia as a permanent resident, Australian citizen or eligible New Zealand citizen, and 2 children are offshore, living in some other country, they do pass balance of family test because at least half of their children living in Australia. Another one is more eligible children than children living. So for example, there are 5 children, 2 are eligible New Zealand citizen or permanent resident living. 1 child is living in country 1, another child is living in country 2, and another child is living in country 3. Still, you pass balance of family test because more eligible children are living in Australia than compared to in any other single country. The children who are now not counted are deceased one, the one who are removed from their parents' exclusive legal custody, those who are living with where they suffered persecution or human rights abuse and can't be united with their parents in another country. Now, to summarize, parent visa are permanent visas available to applicants who are parents of a child who are settled Australian citizen, permanent resident, or eligible New Zealand citizen. They must also satisfy all necessary criteria of Schedule 1 and Schedule 2. They should pass the balance of family test, age requirements if relevant, also meet health and character requirements. To apply for an onshore parent visa, which is 884, 864, the main applicant must satisfy the pensionable age. Parent can be onshore and apply for an offshore parent visa, which is 173, 143, or 103, but will not be eligible for the associate bridging visa. Now, there are 2 groups of parent visa, which is contributory and non-contributory. The contributory is defined as the visas where you pay a large sum of money that is contributed upon application. Now, who are the eligible non-citizens, or eligible and New Zealand citizen? The New Zealand citizens who arrived in Australia on a New Zealand passport or before 26th of February 2001 on a special category visa are considered as eligible New Zealand citizens. Now, who are eligible for the bridging visa? Onshore applications holding or have held a substantive visa are eligible for the bridging visa when they lodged an application for one of the following visa subclasses, which is aged parent visa 804 and 864, the contributory parent visa, which is temporary, if they are a holder of 173 visa and applying onshore parent visa 143, they are also eligible for the bridging visa. The applicants who are holder of 884 visa and applying for the permanent 864 are also eligible for the bridging visa. The bridging visa will come into effect only when the current visa expires. A bridging visa keeps the visa applicant lawful in Australia while your new visa application is processed. Now I'll explain you about individually all 6 subclasses of the parent visa. So first is a subclass 173, which is a contributory parent temporary visa. Now, the most important part here is that you cannot apply for this visa if you are holder of subclass 870 visa, which is sponsored parent temporary. Now, when you are applying for this visa, you can also do a transition to a subclass 143 visa, which is a permanent visa. The temporary visa are of 2 years, so you must apply for 143 within 2 years of holding subclass 173. And this 173 visa period cannot be renewed. The applicant may be either inside or outside Australia at the time of bridging, at the time of application, but there will be no associate bridging visa. There is must be outside Australia at the time of grant, and the current processing time is 12 years. For subclass 143, which is a contributory parent visa, which is permanent, again, you can't apply for this visa if you are holder of 870 visa. The applicant may be in at the time of application. There will be no associate bridging visa if you are directly applying for 143 visa. The age criteria is not applicable, and you must be inside or outside Australia at the time of grant. Again, the processing time is 12 plus years. And you should also note that if you are applying for 143 visa as a subclass 173 holder, form to be used will be 47 PT and not 47 PA form. For subclass 103, it is a permanent visa, and it's this visa may be lodged either inside or outside Australia, but as previously mentioned, there is no bridging visa associated with it. The applicant may be inside or outside Australia. There is no age criteria again. Unit can apply in the same form at the same time as a primary applicant. This subclasses, it is very lengthy processing time and last years. If you are applying for this visa, there are chances there might be an increase of the health if you are applying for this visa. Now, another subclass, which is an onshore visa, is 884. Now, this visa will let you live in Australia for up to 2 years. You can travel in and out Australia for the period of 2 years. And within that 2 years period, you need to apply for permanent contributory age parent visa, which is 864. Now, here you have to meet the age pension criteria mentioned below. So the age requirements as of 1st July 2023 is 67 years, which has been increased before it. If you see the table, on 1st of July 2017, the age pension criteria was 65 years. Regarding subclass 864, which is contributory age parent visa. Now, again, it's a permanent visa. The applicant must be in Australia and must be aged according to the pension age criteria. The applicant would be eligible for the bridging visa during the processing time. Now, the bridging visa will allow you to study and work full time or 864 visa. Members of family unit who are making combined application with the primary applicant will be granted the visa provided the main applicant and secondary applicant fulfill all the criteria. If you have to check whether on the visitor's visa you have 8503 condition or not. If there is no 8503 condition, then you can proceed with the parent visa. Now, again, if you are applying for this visa, then the form which you will use is 47PT instead of 47PA. Subclass 864 visa are for all applicants in Australia. This visa let older parents live permanently in Australia if they have a child who is a sponsor and who is a settled Australian citizen, permanent resident, or an eligible New Zealand citizen. Regarding subclass 804, which is age parent visa, again, almost the same criteria, which is it's a permanent visa. You have to fulfill age criteria. Applicant may be in Australia at the time of application and at the time of decision. Again, you are eligible to apply for the bridging visa, and it allows you to study and work full time. Medicare is only applicable when the visa is granted. The processing time, again, is 30 plus years, and this can change the health requirements, the health criteria as well, because if you have exceeded 80 plus, 90 plus, then there are chances that you may not pass medical examination just because if you are having any chronic disease or any disease which is not applicable or not good for the Australian community. Visa application charges. Now here we have to look into the visa application charges. So in contributory parent visa, the visa application charges for primary applicant is around 4765, which is around 4700, and for the secondary applicant it is 1605. You have to pay for the second visa application charges after 12 years, which is 43,600 for each applicant. In non-contributory parent visa, which is 804103, the approx visa application charges is 5,000 for the primary applicant and around 2,500 for the secondary applicant. And there is no second visa application charges in this category. Now, with the program caps, the most significant difference between the parent visa categories lie in the waiting period for the applicants to be processed and approved. Now, this is attributed to the fact that program caps apply to both the Visa Migration Act contains provision that allows the minister to cap the number of visas that are granted in the financial year. The cap only ever applies to that particular year, so it may be changed from year to year. When the number of caps is reached, no further visas are granted for the rest of the program year. The processing time changes if there is a changes in the planning levels, depending on how many visa applications are submitted, how many visa applications are withdrawn or refused, how many applications went to AATR remits, ministerial intervention cases, and the changes to the processing directions. Now, what is assurance of support? Assurance of support can be required for a number of visas, especially for all the parent visas. Now, these payments include special benefit, new start and widow allowances, mature age allowances, parenting payment, partner and youth allowance, or study payment. Assurance of support are mandatory in all the parent visa subclasses, including age-dependent relative visa and remaining relative visa. These assurances of support are discretionary to other visas, which is child visa, adoption visa, orphan relative visa, and the formal resident visa. Now, Vaishalee will explain you about the long-term tourist visa for the parents, which is subclass 870. Over to you, Vaishalee. Vaishalee?
Oh, sorry. I think I was on mute. Thank you, Sylphy. Now, yeah, I'll just briefly speak about this new visa subclass 870, which is a long-term tourist visa. This is mainly beneficial for those where applicants are not able to pass the balance of family test, or maybe those who are looking for a long-term stay option onshore. This is unlike the regular tourist visa where parents can stay up to maximum 12 months. But this visa would definitely allow them to stay here for a longer period without having to go back. Depending on how long they apply for, this visa is mainly for 3 to 5 years, which can be extended further. Now, just to brief the technicalities, this is an online application. This is mainly designed to allow parents to stay with their family for a long time, at a stretch of 3 to 5 years, which can be extended for up to 10 years without having to go back. This visa was started in 2019, and the first applications were made in July 2019, which comes as a very good option for those who are either waiting for their parent visa approvals, or those who are not able to pass their balance of family test, or maybe those who just do not have any intentions of applying for a permanent visa for parents, but who just wants their parents to be with them for a long time. This is a two-stage process. When you think of applying for an 870, this first includes a sponsorship approval and then eventually application for a visa application. So an approved sponsor or maybe an eligible child needs to be applying for a sponsorship application. Once it is approved, within 6 months of the sponsorship approval, applications can be lodged. This will be an online application, and for 870 applications, mainly the parents will need to be outside of Australia, unless we could request a permission to apply onshore. But let's see, we will come across that in further slides. Sylvia, I think you might need to change the slide. Thank you. Now, as I said, the good thing is balance of family test does not apply to this visa. So if there are children for whom it is difficult to pass the balance of family test, this is a very good option. You can apply for either 3-year visa, which can be extended twice up to 10 years, or else you apply for a 5-year visa. To be granted a temporary sponsored visa, a person must satisfy a number of requirements. That is usual to every application, like having their Australian child approved as a sponsor, which means before applying for a visa, the sponsorship application must have been approved. The parents must meet identity, health, and character requirements. What it means is when they apply, they will be requested police checks and medical examination. If they are able to meet the health and character requirements, there should not be hurdles granting a visa. They should not have any outstanding public debt, health debt, any other type of debt to Commonwealth. While they are here, they must maintain a health insurance, not allow Medicare to parents, which means for the intended period of stay, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, or an extended 5 years, they must maintain health insurance all the time while they are in Australia. Fee-wise, unlike the regular tourist visa, these visas are expensive. For a 5-year visa, the total is around 1,100 for 470. This is the current financial year fees, which might increase after July. A 3-year visa would cost them 5,735. This is for the current financial year. Sponsorship application would cost around 420 to the sponsor, following which the visa application fee has to be paid Again, the visa application fee is divided in 2 installments. So initially, applicants are required to pay around 1,000 or 1,100. Then by the time a decision is ready, they will be asked to deposit further amount. So the entire payment is not upfront, it will be divided. Now, key features of this sponsored parent visa. Of course, there are limited seats. It's limited. Currently, it is limited to 15,000 visas. Maximum 10 years of cumulative stay period, which means if you are applying for a 5-year visa, it can be extended only once. Up to 10 years, yes, no issues. After 10 years, parents may not be eligible for this visa. Whatever period you have applied for, whether it's 3 years or 5 years, parents are not required to depart Australia. With a regular tourist visa, parents can stay for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, depending on the validity, and then they have to go back. Usually, if parents are getting 12 months tourist visa, they have to be outside Australia for 6 months, and then they could reapply or re-enter. Unlike that, this visa allows parents to stay for at least 3 years or 5 years at a stretch without having to go back, depending on the validity of this visa. They are eligible for a second sponsorship. However, the sponsorship is a new sponsorship again. So if the children have sponsored them once and parents have applied, once this visa ends, the sponsorship also ends. After the visa ends, parents must be outside Australia for 90 consecutive days. You cannot apply for this visa without spending the stipulated time outside Australia. Now, you cannot even start a sponsorship while holding this visa. While the parent is holding 3 or 5 years visa, the sponsorship will end only once the visa period ends. And while you are holding a sponsorship, you cannot apply for a new sponsorship, which means you will have to wait until the visa ends. You apply for a new sponsorship, and then the parent applies for a visa again. There is a provision of asking for requests to lodge these visas onshore. The eligibility criteria is the validity criteria is the parent must be overseas or outside Australia when you are applying for 870. The sponsor for the parents to lodge a visa onshore, but the approval may be granted in very special circumstances. If there are any compelling or compassionate reasons that exist for parents to apply from overseas. This visa comes with no work condition. It's ultimately a tourist visa. So while the parent is holding this visa, they won't be able to work. If we look at the sponsorship requirements, I mean, very much obvious that they have to be a biological adoptive. To prove their relation, sponsors and applicants both will have to provide their birth certificates. So if a child is applying for sponsorship, they need to show family books or birth certificates which has both their parents' names on them. If there are no birth certificates available, maybe school leaving certificates which shows their age and parents' name may suffice as well. Provide valid evidence of their identity and proof that they are Australian citizens or permanent residents, which includes their Australian citizenship certificates, Australian PR visa, or proof that they are eligible New Zealand citizens. They must be 18 years or older. If they are less than 18 years, there are alternative sponsorship arrangements available. But usually, if the child is above 18 years, they meet the requirements. Now, the sponsor must have lived in Australia for at least 4 years before applying for sponsorship. It doesn't need to be exactly as a permanent resident or a citizen, but they must have resided in Australia for at least 4 years. They should meet the income requirement. In the next slide, I think we will cover what the income requirement is, but just to highlight, it's somewhere about 84,000 a year. When we apply, the sponsors will need to show the previous year financial or the tax assessment, which mentions their taxable income. Meeting the minimum income requirement means they must have the stipulated taxable income, which is displayed on the notice of tax assessment. They should not, even the sponsor, they should not have any outstanding debt, Commonwealth debt. And then, yeah, as indicated earlier, their sponsorship must be approved before a visa application is lodged. You can't lodge both the applications together. Sponsorship and application and visa application goes one by one. The sponsorship fee will be $420, plus there is 1.40% card surcharge, but This is the current year fee, which might increase after July. When the sponsor is applying for sponsorship, in addition to their identity documents or evidence of birth, etc., they also need to provide AFP. If the child has a partner, both partner and applicant, they have to provide their AFP regardless of the partner is contributing to the finances or not. So here comes the taxable income requirement. Current year requirement is 83,454.80. This must be evident on a notice of tax assessment. If you have not lodged a tax assessment, you may not be able to proceed with this. If someone is lodging an application in 2024, the last financial year would be 2022-2023, for which they must have a notice of tax assessment ready. Now, if you are sponsoring a parent, if either a sponsor can contribute towards this taxable income requirement, or else if they have a partner or de facto partner spouse, they can combine their incomes too. In addition to spouse, they can also combine this income with Australian citizen or PR sibling. So in short, it can be combined, but in total, it should meet the minimum threshold, which is 83,454 at this stage. There are certain obligations to be met by the sponsor. In case something changes after you have lodged a sponsorship or you have lodged a visa, it is the sponsor's obligation to inform the department of these changes within 28 days. Now, the changes may include a change in any information provided to the immigration. If, for example, any address change or any passport change, it can be notified through the IMEI account. If something has changed into sponsorship, or if, let's say, the person is charged with any offense, certain applicant's duty to provide this information to the department immediately while they are here, and if a debt has occurred, which was not there at the time of application, but it occurred eventually after the applications were lodged, it is the sponsor's obligation to inform the department. For any, this is very unusual, but in case the person becomes subject to an apprehended violence order or any other similar restricting orders by a state or territory government, or even a foreign country, it is they are liable to mention it to the department. In an unfortunate event of a person who was sponsored dies, the sponsor must inform the department immediately. That's when the sponsorship would end for that particular parent. Now, how the scope of this sponsorship, if we look at the scope, sponsorship can only cover up to 2 parents per household, which means either the sponsored parents or else maybe one parent from of the sponsor and one parent of the partner. It can be arranged. Fortunately, approved parent sponsors are able to change their sponsorship arrangements. So if they wish to add or remove or replace a sponsored parent, it is still possible while the application while the sponsorship is approved. To vary this sponsorship, sponsors will need to lodge a new sponsorship application. Now, these applications are done through IMEI account. Agents are there to help you if the applicants do not know how to do it, how to vary these or how to remove a parent. Agents can assist. But overall, this can be done through IMEI account using their existing TRN number. You can also add a parent to a sponsorship, not more than 2. But let's say if you have applied for only one sponsorship at a time and later you change your mind, and if you wish to add a parent, you can do that too. Sylvia, I would like to go to the next slide. Here again, in addition to adding a parent, you can also remove or replace a parent. If you are trying to remove a parent, they will need to withdraw the sponsorship for the parent that they wish to remove. If you want to remove one of the parents from the sponsorship, you can make an application for that. If it is removed, if a parent is removed, the parent must either leave Australia, because then they would not have any scope of staying here if they are not eligible for a sponsorship, or if they have to leave Australia, or if there are further reasons to stay here, they can apply for a different visa if they meet the eligibility requirements. If you decide to remove both your parents from the sponsorship will end at the moment. The moment you remove them, sponsorship ends. Once it ends, and then if you decide to sponsor the parents again, you will have to start afresh with a new sponsorship application. So once it ends, it cannot be retrieved. It has to be lodged again. Now, here are the requirements to replace sponsor. To replace one parent or both the parents, they will need to withdraw the sponsorship first for the parents that they intend to remove, and then they have to lodge a new sponsorship, which means removal, replacement, while the sponsor is still approved. Documents wise, these are all technicalities, but we will mainly need to prove your relationship with parents and proof that you have resided here or citizen or an eligible NZ citizen. As usual, every sponsor or visa applicant will need to show their passport, birth certificates, marriage certificate. If they are married, they have to mention their partner's details as well in the sponsorship application. The partner too will need to provide a federal check, regardless of whether they are contributing to this minimum income requirement or not. They have to apply for a police check altogether, not only from Australia, but from every other country where they have resided for at least 10 years in the past 12 years. 12 months in the past 12 years. Documents requirement, this is all technical. If you are hiring an agent, you need to have Form 956. If you are hiring an agent, of course, agent will be giving you a checklist and then will be collecting your documents accordingly. If you are doing it yourself, this can be done through 𝐸𝐸 account online, where there are document checklists available, and then additional documents such as character forms, etc., which can be found on the website, or maybe an agent can assist with this. Personal documents would include passport, birth certificates, marriage certificates. If either the sponsor or the visa applicant have served in military, they will need to provide military discharge papers. Evidence of your relationship, which does include birth certificate or maybe family books. Some countries have ration books, which includes names of all family members in them. So any evidence which lists down all the family members' names and which establishes your relationship with parents would be welcome. Health insurance. Before a visa is granted, case officers would request the parents or the parent applicants to confirm their health insurance. So they will need to arrange a visitor cover or maybe a working health cover while they intend to stay here. The evidence has to be provided before a visa is decided. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is how it works. It's a two-stage process. It can be lodged by eligible Australian citizens or permanent residents or NZ citizens who do not meet the balance of family test requirements, who want their parents to stay here. One more thing, while holding this 870, you cannot lodge any parent visa or aged parent visa. But vice versa, if you have already applied a parent visa and if you wish to apply this 870 so that parents can stay here while waiting for a parent visa approval, this is a good option. Contributory parent visas, as Sylphy said, it takes about 12 to 13 years. So if your parents are alone back overseas and if you want them to be here with you, you can apply for this visa while the parent visa is in process. 870 does not replace the existing parent visa application. But if you hold an 870, you won't be able to apply a parent visa. Vice versa, it should be fine. So yeah, this was a comprehensive information of parent visas 870.
Okay, I would like to conclude this session now then. I would like to thank my presenters, Sylphy and Vaishalee, for taking out time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.